Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've been waiting for. Most likely the last set of balance changes until after 3 weeks of AWC. My guess is this will be the last set of balance changes. I'm going to talk to you guys about everything that I think of, and I'm going to try to predict the meta a little bit based off what I'm seeing. I think Blizzard kind of nailed most of it. I have a list of like buffs and nerfs I was expecting to see for certain classes. So let's go ahead and get started. There are PvE changes and there are PvP changes. Some go through, some don't go through. I'm only going to write down the changes for healers most likely, but we'll kind of take note on everyone's changes. This one is kind of surprising to me. Frost Death Knights got a 4% damage increase that does not apply to PvP combat. I'm kind of surprised to see that does not go through to PvP. I don't think Frost is in a very good spot right now. We've been playing it a little bit. Frost DK can definitely kill shit if you stand in the circle, but it's super gimmicky. So, I mean, I guess the reasoning behind this is that buffing their damage only further increases the gimmickiness. It's unfortunately just a imbalanced spec where it's either completely worthless or completely ridiculous, and there's no in between. Balanced druids. Balanced druids, in my opinion, are one of the biggest winners in these most recent set of changes. This is obviously very good for my team. Obviously, we've done very well with Balanced Druid in the past. Balanced Druids are, they are falling behind pretty hard right now. And these are some pretty substantial buffs. Wrath damage getting buffed is something that, it doesn't hit very hard, but it can definitely add up. Their Wrath is kind of part of their, like, Dream Burst kill combo right now. So a 30% buff to that is pretty substantial. So I don't mind seeing it. This one kind of surprises me. I would have never guessed in a million years that Star Surge gets buffed. And one thing that, you know, to note is that their 4-piece also increases their Star Surge damage. So right now we're at a point where most boomkins are not even getting the extra 10% that they would have had from their tier, because it will be nerfed in half, so it'll be at 10%. So on top of that, they're going to get another 5%. So Star Surge is going to hit pretty hard. And then this is also a very interesting talent choice change for me. So there's 2 sets of builds that you could play with balance. One is never played right now. It is considered not viable. But I'm going to show you what that one is. This one's a Loon's Chosen. Everybody plays Keeper of the Grove. They drop their Trents. They do the giant Dream Surges. But this is a very interesting buff here because it's a very powerful buff. In beta, people played this talent, and it got nerfed in beta moving into retail. Moving into, live, when the servers went live. And since then, it has been buffed almost to full strength. So, it's right here. Starfire deals 100% increased damage to its primary target, but it no longer triggers solar eclipses. So this is going to get buffed to 160%. That means your instant cast Starfires may hit like a truck. I don't know how hard, but it's going to hit pretty damn hard. It is very possible that a Loon's Chosen is a very meta spec. This is something that I'm going to make Sam try immediately. It was really insane in beta. So just to give you ideas of like how this worked in beta, there was a 40% modifier in the regular tree that they eventually removed, and this was 100%, and they nerfed this to 60%. So it was a 60% modifier, and even with the 40% modifier, it didn't feel that crazy. So it's at what it is now. And after they removed the 40%, they unnerfed it, and then it went to 100%. Now it's going to 160%. So this to me says it's going to be stronger than it was on beta. So it's possible that people play the Loon's Chosen build. I think the Loon's Chosen build is also kind of just more DPS. I think Keeper has more burst, but I think Loon's Chosen's more DPS. So it's possible that Loon's Chosen is going to be seen. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's, you know, changing up a little bit. I don't know anything about Guardian Druids. We're going to skip that. These are decent Devastation buffs from what I understand. I saw people were happy about them. I don't know a ton of it. All getting a 15% buff could make it actually viable at the very start of the patch. I feel like Augs were kind of pumping. I'll let Trill figure that one out. Not too worried about it. From what I from what I remember seeing, I think these are the only preservation changes that we're going to get. They get a 5% flat healing increase, which is okay. You know, I'm not going to be upset about it. They get a 20% Spirit Bloom flat healing increase, which I'm also okay with. They get a little bit of a mana increase by offensively Living Flaming will give you more mana back. Disintegrate gets a 25% damage increase, which I don't actually think Preservation needed. And Living Flame gets a 25% damage increase that does not apply to PvP combat. I think this one also could have not applied to PvP combat. I think Preservation's last problem right now is damage. So I definitely think this one could have got voided. I will not complain about it. But I think these two buffs right here are not enough to make Preservation's meta. If there were no more changes and this was like the only thing on the list, it's possible they could have maybe snuck in the healer tier list like higher up a little bit. But with some of the changes we're seeing with the other healers, this is pretty lackluster in comparison. I saw someone in my chat complain that their 4 set got nerfed. This was last season's 4 set, by the way. Like, apparently their 4 set was so broken that people were using it from last tiers. It wasn't nerfed for this tier. These changes for Mistweaver also don't matter. Holy Pally getting some small buffs. I don't think these matters this much, but let's go ahead and write these down. 20% Wog healing / Eternal Flame, obviously. Holy Prism, single target healing increased by 50%. So Holy Prism is like, I guess this is a 50% buff on Prism. I don't think you use this right now, but maybe you will over Barrier. It'll just be an instant cast big heal. It seems like it'd actually be pretty big. Holy Prism single target healing and damage increased by 50%. That seems pretty good. Final Verdict damage increased by 20%. This is an ability that Rep Pallies have been complaining for quite some time that just doesn't hit hard enough. That's a pretty big number for one of their finishers. Now we're going to get into one of the other winners of the patch. Holy Priest. Now, we've seen it time and time again. Holy Priests get buffs, and they fall short. They get buffs, and they fall short. So, let's just, you know, kind of give Blizzard a round of applause here for continuing to buff a spec that is just not performing well. You know what I mean? I feel like we've seen a lot of complaining this patch about them not doing a very good job balancing. It's definitely something that has happened before in the past, and I guess the complaints are probably coming more based off of experience or history in previous patches. But so far, this patch, they're really going after changes, and I'm really happy to see it. Prayer of Healing doesn't matter, but Prayer of Mending, 20% healing. All right. Now, why this is crazy is since Holy Priest from beta to now, I think Prayer Mending has gotten almost a 100% healing increase. Renew, 60% healing. That's a big fucking number, guys. Lightwell, 30% healing. Keep in mind, Lightwell triggers Renew. Those go hand in hand. Divine Image, 20% healing. Honestly, Divine Image is so bad that you might not even spec it still. We'll have to look at it. Holy Fire damage increased by 20%. Holy Fire, another 20% dam. Which is crazy because they just got buffed it. Renewed Faith now increases healing by 10% instead of 6%. So that's essentially flat 4% buff. Essentially, you almost always have Renew. And now they got another 60% from Renew here. So Empowered Renew used to make your healing increase by 60% on Renew. Now it's going to be 120%. So on top of the 60% here, they're also getting another 60%. Another 60% on Renew. The math probably doesn't exactly work out like that, but you get it. Duration of Renew increased. Duration of Renew increased. Now that's actually kind of important for multiple reasons. Your Renew has a cooldown, so you want to try to spread your Renews out since they're going to heal for so much. And on top of that, your spells can actually increase the duration of that Renew. So the longer that they're up, your palm can kind of like re-add duration to that Renew, and you can keep those things spreading. Prayer Mending, another 15%. All right, so you got a flat 20% here. This is 15% Palm from Oracle, which I think will definitely be played now, but we'll have to see. And another 15% damage on Holy Fire. 15% Holy Fire. from Oracle. So, Holy Priest is going to fucking bang. You're going to have 35% more damage on Holy Fire. You're going to have 35% more healing on Palm. You're going to have 120% more healing on Renew. And Renew kind of heals decent. Lightwell is going to be increased by 30%. And guys, I'm pretty sure there's more. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Disc has got a small nerf here. Disc is minus 1% DR. Shaman 2-piece is actually increased by 30%, which is actually decent. Elemental's got a lot of buffs. I don't know if this is enough, but Lava Burst is good for them. Lightning Bolt is only for the 1 spec. Primordial Wave generates more Maelstrom and also does 500% more damage. I don't really fight Ellie, so I don't know how much that actually matters. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual PvP changes now, okay? Death Knights got a buff to the Bloodforge talent, which gets them killed by, like, they die to other physical damage. It's really rare that DKs ever even want to play this because they have so many PvP talents they want, but regardless, it's still nice. This is an interesting one. I was actually talking to Mez about this the other day, Soul Reaper. Soul Reaper has not been good in PvP since, shit, man, Mist of Pandaria. This is almost going to double its damage. I don't know how, I don't know if the number's enough because we literally haven't even seen it. I don't know if this is going to be good enough or if it'll even be played. I also don't know anything about Sand Lan. I don't think I've ever seen it, 30% there. Is this good enough for Death Knight? I have no idea. I'd have to talk to Mez about it. We were talking about Boomkins earlier as being one of the winners. They had a buff to Wrath, 30%. They had a buff to Star Surge, 5%. If you decide to play the Elun's Chosen, you had a 60% buff on Starfire. But now, there's even more. I would say Boomkins are one of the lower DPS casters in the game. Their 2 dots got a 33% buff. That is a very, very, very large increase. Frenzied Regeneration is no longer reduced by 38%. That is a very big defensive increase. In the meantime, they nerfed their burst a little bit. When they summon trees, they used to get 8% spell power. Actually, I think it actually is more than 8%. It's probably each of your force of nature spells will active 8% will active. Okay, so it actually used to be 24%. Now it'll be 12%. So they actually are maybe losing some burst overall when they have Trents out. But overall, it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. This nerf right here may also kind of feed into the fact that it's possible Elun's Chosen would be better, but we'll have to see. Moonfire and Sunfire. Moonfire deals 20% increased damage. Look at that. Pretty good stuff for balance. Feral Druids randomly got a speed nerf and a Mortal Strike nerf. I don't think these are the right nerfs specifically. Maybe Tireless Pursuit is annoying because those things are fucking NASCARs. But I feel like they still do too high DPS. Rip seems kind of crazy. Frenzied Regen is no longer reduced by 50%. That's crazy it was reduced by 50. This is actually going to make our Druids kind of hard to kill based off of the Auto Frenzy talent. Like, just straight up Auto Frenzy is going to be insane for Resto Druid. Overpowered Barrier now causes barriers to last 4 seconds instead of 5. I think that's kind of a... I think it's kind of irrelevant, personally. Maybe it's bigger than I think. I would say most of the time they don't actually expire. Barrier Diffusion is 50% in PvP combat. Barrier... This is why they're nerfing some of these talents. Like, if you type in the word Barrier, you can literally see every single one of these abilities that helps out Barrier. Like, it's actually crazy. But either way, Barrier Diffusion. Alright. Whenever one of your berries is removed, reduces cooldown by 4 seconds. That's a big nerf. That is a big nerf. I appreciate that nerf. Accumulative Shielding is now 33% effective. So, your barriers cooldown recharge 30% faster while the shield persists. I don't think that is that insane right now, considering they only last 5 seconds. Even 4 seconds. So, I mean, no one's even going to play this talent anymore. It being only 33% effective on 4 seconds is like, I don't even know. Temporal Velocity is 50% in PvP combat. Increase your movement speed by 20% for 3 seconds after you blink. And 20%, maybe even 40% actually after Alter Time. Okay, so Arcane Mages don't run as fast. Incantation of Swiftness is also 50% effective. Increases your movement speed by 80% for 6 seconds after you greater invis. Okay, so I guess they're just trying to make mages slower. That wasn't even arcane, that's just mages in general. Chrono Shift now increases movement speed by 10, was 25. Spell Slinger, Slippery Slinging, 50% effective. You have 40% increased movement speed during alter time. Okay. Yeah, alright, another movement speed thing nerfed. Arcane Surge now increased spell damage by 15 instead of 20, but the base damage is increased by 40%. It doesn't look like it hits very hard. So that's probably irrelevant, but it's a 5% like burst nerf, I guess. So it looks like they tried to hurt their shields a little bit. I think their shields are still going to be pretty damn powerful. They're going to be up a little bit less often, and I mean a little bit. But they should be a lot less speedy, I guess. So it may be okay. Windwalker randomly got Celestial Conduit healing increased. I have no idea why. This is kind of something I predicted. Slicing Winds took another nerf, and Crackling also took a nerf. I think both of these abilities are still going to be good. I think both of these abilities are still going to be playable. They were just too powerful. They should still be powerful, but I think they still will be powerful, but I think they're just going to kind of be in line now, personally. Now, these are some massive, massive buffs for Mistweaver. To me, kind of surprisingly so. I don't know how far Mistweaver was, but this is a lot of healing increase. So their regen is better, more regen. I don't know the exact numbers, but either way. Mistweaver got more regen. Celestial Conduit, 50% increase. I personally don't know if you're going to play Celestial Conduit in PvP, mainly because I think it's really hard to... There's two things. Play the Honor Talent that makes you un-CCable when you're spec'd it. There might be some scenarios where you really want to play it and you like it and you think it's good. On top of that, when you play this build, you lose out on the second Thunder Focus Tea. And the second Thunder Focus Tea just synergizes so well with both the Kick build and the Crackle build. It seems like it's going to be a really, really hard thing to want to sacrifice. But Celestial Conduit actually does a lot of healing, and 50% is a massive increase. So it's a very powerful cooldown, one that you can use to prevent CC, or one that you can use knowing that, you will always get the healing off. So it's definitely interesting, but it's really hard to drop the talent. It's going to be a really, really tough talent to take, but powerful buff anyway. Vivify healing, 25%. That's a big number. Enveloping, 25%. And then Renewing Mist, 40%. That's their 3 main healing spells buffed by a ton. Very, very solid changes. Very solid changes. If these numbers are not enough to make Mistweaver good, I mean, I would be kind of blown away. You know what I mean? That would mean that these guys are so far behind that, I mean, how could Blizzard buff a class more than this? Like, these are insane numbers. Blinding Light no longer removes damage over time. I think this is kind of a really good change. I also think that all other abilities that kind of randomly remove dots shouldn't do that anymore because they don't break to CC. Like, Incap shouldn't remove dots anymore. Song of Chi-Ji shouldn't remove dots anymore. So on and so forth. Scatter shouldn't remove dots anymore. When they made it so damage doesn't break CC, things like Gouge and Polymorph became crazy overpowered because, well, maybe not Polymorph because it does remove dots, but you know what I'm saying? Gouge became insane because you could just gouge someone full dots and just kind of watch them die. Ret's got some nice buffs back, apparently. 20% Blade, and then they got the Templar's Verdict. Protection gives them more defense. Avenging Wrath is buffed up again. It's good to see. Dispriest, in my opinion, are still going to be very strong. I actually kind of personally expected that Dispriest would get a healing nerf. I don't really think that's the case. I do think mana was a big issue, so they nerfed their mana regen. I really don't know what it was before. It was nerfed by 30%. This is really weird to me because I feel like the math never really adds up, but it's kind of adding up right now. Priest regen in Arena was 70,000, and if it was 100k before, that makes sense, right? If it's nerfed by 30%, does that make sense? It would go to 70k, so now it's nerfed by 45%, which I guess would make it 55k, I think. So they lost 15,000 mana per 5 seconds. 15k MP5, is that right? Something like that. Evangelism healing reduced in PvP combat. I mean, love it or hate it, but I'm hitting 8 millions, 9 millions, non-crit. I think you're going to feel this nerf really bad when your atonements are spread out. But when your atonements are not spread out, this ability is just broken. I think one thing they could have done is made it so it's still, like, effective on multi-target, but nerfed very hard on single atonements, I guess, if that makes sense. That would probably have been hard to code, but what can you do? And this is in my opinion a pretty good nerf, but they're basically, instead of nerfing the class again, they're nerfing the 4 set. And this is actually a good way to approach it because they're not going to have this 4 set next season, right? So if you nerf their healing even more and then they lose their 4 set, it's just going to have to adjust, be something you adjust later on. 20%, it was 15% healing, now it's 20% effective, so now it's only going to be 3% healing. I think a 4 set that's still worth taking, just a flat 3% healing increase. And then more Holy Priest buffs, guys. More Holy Priest buffs. Like, look at the list of changes for Holy Priest. We got mana regen buffed. Mana regen buffed, which they actually desperately needed. Their mana regen has been nerfed from Shadowlands. Flash heal buffed. Flash heal 8%. Heal 8%. Serenity, which honestly, in my opinion, they don't need it at all. Serenity heals for a ton. Sanctify. Sanctify also heals pretty solid, but fuck it. We'll take another 8. And then another 8 on Palm. Guys, just look at the buffs, man. Look at the buffs. Like, look at the list, man. Look at the list. That is crazy. And then some enhanced buffs. They nerfed AF 4 set. They buffed Arms Warrior. Now, I think just based off of what we're seeing here, it's pretty obvious who the main winner is. The second winner. And then Holy Paladin Prez also getting some love. And then obviously Disc got some nerfs. Avenge minus 25%. 4 set nerfed. I think that's basically it. But we could go ahead and compare like what we wrote down. So what we listed as something that should probably be nerfed. Disc mana. Boom. Got nerfed. Maybe healing because they'll be too OP with 4 set. 4 set got nerfed. Overpowered barrier got nerfed. Feral damage did not get nerfed. Feral damage did not get nerfed. Demon Hunter damage also did not get nerfed. I think that's, you know, once again, I think DH Shadow Priest could be a pretty damn good comp. DH DK. Obviously Feral's Shadow Priest still going to be good. Feral Hunter probably still going to be good. Maybe Feral Warlock, Feral Mage. I think these are probably 2 melees that are going to be super solid. Windwalker, Slice, and Crackle did get nerfed. I think BM Hunter did get nerfed. I don't know exactly what. The Rogue Fate talent actually got nerfed. I was kind of surprised to see this. It only got nerfed for Outlaw, but it did get nerfed. I think Shadow Priest damage got slightly nerfed, so Shadow Priest did take a little bit of a nerf. Buffs. Ret's got buffs. DK's got buffs. Balancer's got buffs. Enhanced got buffs. Ellie's got buffed. Every other healer besides Resto Shaman Disc, and let me go ahead and do a quick little edit here because apparently Blizzard doesn't like you guys, and Resto Druids got buffs. I think Demo got very tiny buffs, probably irrelevant, and Arms also got buffs. So we were pretty close to what we thought would happen. So we had a pretty good grasp on the meta. Jeez Louise, man. How good is Holy Priest gonna be, guys? I think it might be pretty damn good. This renew is ticking for 100,000. That's crazy. That's going to be 120% more. That is a damn fucking good heal over time effect. Prayer Mending, 415k. That's going to be 600k palms. The one thing I will say is I feel like Oracle seems like it might overall be better based on the fact that you're going to have the increased palms, you're going to have the increased renew duration, you're going to have the increased damage. But it's really hard to give up the really, really powerful Holy Spirit, the 15-second Holy Spirit. Now, I will say, if Holy Priest does become meta, if there's one complaint I think that people will have about the class, is that the 15-second Spirit is going to be too overpowered if you end up playing Archon. If you don't play Archon, you won't hear much about it. But some pretty crazy changes. I would say that it's really hard to say. But I would say Holy Priest is going to be a top 3 healer. I think Arsham is still going to be a top 3 healer. I think Disc could also still be a top healer. I don't think Holy Pally necessarily got enough to be insane. I don't think Prez got enough to be insane. I think they're still going to be pretty mid. I think Arjured will probably end up being mid as well, just because it got no changes. Arjured actually felt pretty decent the last couple days, but I think with them getting nothing and every other class getting a nerf, I think it just kind of puts them a little bit further behind. Overall, some pretty fun changes. My team and I definitely got to get back in the lab, and we got to get to work. So, shout out to Blizzard. Some pretty sweet changes. I think if I had one complaint from what I've seen is I feel like Resto Druids probably at least deserve a little bit of love, just a little bit. You know, at least like another little 5% or something. But yeah. All right. Good luck. Have fun. Feral Druid could be the best spec in the game, and Bean's still going to be useless.
That you never be lonely. Be the fan, that's what they call me.